Guys, these past couple of days, I've been actually doing something that I haven't done in a long time, and that is I've been watching other boxing channels. I have not really been watching other boxing channels on YouTube for quite some time. Like when I first started this whole YouTube, I used to watch a bunch of boxing channels, but I haven't been doing that because I haven't had the time. And normally when I go on YouTube, it's not to hear boxing commentary, it's to search up other things that I'm into. But I took the time to watch a few boxing channels and see what they think, what's their opinions. And I couldn't help but laugh. Because as I'm going through all these boxing channels and as I'm listening to their opinions, particularly about any video that they make involving Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder and this whole buildup of this fight, I couldn't help but laugh because it's like you could tell that in this community of YouTube, whatever you want to call it, basically on YouTube, all the people who make boxing videos talking about boxing and particularly talking about this fight, Anthony Joshua and Wilder, it's almost like they're divided. It's almost like there's just two sides. You have one side of boxing channels making videos saying that Anthony Joshua is afraid of Deontay Wilder. He's a pussy. He's hiding in the UK. So you got one spectrum of boxing channels saying that. But then you got another spectrum of boxing channels saying that Deontay Wilder's a pussy. Deontay Wilder's afraid to fight Anthony Joshua. So it's basically like a war between channels. Half of the channels are saying Joshua's afraid. The other half is saying Deontay Wilder's afraid. And they're just making these subliminal videos. You could tell they watch the other person's video and then they make a video response without mentioning the person they talk about, but you could tell that they're actually talking about that person. You could just tell. But it's this very immature thing where they're just making videos saying this guy's ducking him and this guy's ducking him. And I find that funny because when I first found out about the community of boxing channels on YouTube when I was a teenager, way before I made a channel, when I was just a subscriber, I remember they were doing the same thing for the build-up of Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I remember when I was a teenager, there was a bunch of people making videos saying that Floyd Mayweather was a chicken. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was afraid of Manny Pacquiao, and the reason this fight is not happening is because Mayweather is afraid of Pacquiao. And then there was also other channels saying that no, Manny Pacquiao's the one, calling Manny Pacquiao a chicken. Manny Pacquiao's afraid. Manny Pacquiao is scared of this, scared of that. So you had these channels going back and forth with each other, saying that this guy's a ducker, this guy, and in between that you had a bunch of racism. There was a lot of racist Manny Pacquiao fans, a lot of racist Mayweather fans. But I remember particularly channels going back and forth, either saying Mayweather's ducking Pacquiao, or Pacquiao blaming either of the other fighter. And they're doing the exact same thing with Joshua versus Wilder. For some reason, every time there's talks about a big fight, or there's a big fight where people want to see both of these guys fighting each other, for some reason in the boxing community there's always this dividance of people trying to make it into a war. Like they make it very serious. Like, no, this guy's a bitch. He's afraid of this guy. That's why this fight's not happening. And then you got other people saying that no, it's actually this guy's fault. So once again, we have this nonsense, this childish nonsense where people are blaming either Wilder and Joshua. But what people have to understand is what all these boxing channels are saying is absolute lies, and it's nonsense. When you see a boxing channel saying that Anthony Joshua is afraid and he's ducking Deontay Wilder, he's lying. That is false. That's propaganda. When you see a boxing channel saying that Deontay Wilder is afraid and he's actually ducking Anthony Joshua, he is lying. That is false and propaganda. The reason these boxing channels make a lot of these Wilder hate videos or Anthony Joshua hate videos is because they get the most views talking about either Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua. If you look at any of these channels, they get the most views who are making videos saying that Wilder's either a punk and he's afraid to fight Joshua, or saying that Joshua is a punk and he's afraid to fight Wilder. If you look at their videos, they normally get the most views making videos talking about this. So they just do it for the ad revenue, and they know that they get the most views out of it. But realistically, don't listen to these dudes, because when you see someone saying that Wilder's the ducker or Joshua's the ducker, it's not the truth. Both of these guys aren't ducking each other. A true duck is if a fighter never fights a fighter. Like if a fighter that is supposed to fight a fighter in his division never fights a guy, that's a true duck. A perfect example is Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe had a mandatory in Lennox Lewis. He was supposed to defend his WBC belt, I believe it was, against Lennox Lewis, but he threw his belt in the trash and vacated his belt. That's a duck. That is a straight up blatant duck when you do something like that. He was supposed to fight Lennox Lewis, but he was, I guess, too afraid to fight Lennox Lewis, and that's why he vacated his belt. That's a duck. I wouldn't have no complaints if I see someone saying Riddick Bowe ducked Lennox Lewis because he was a punk pussy. I wouldn't say anything to that person, because I'd be like, you know what, you're right. He was a punk because he ducked him. You get what I'm saying? And another guy, perfect example, Carl Frampton. Carl Frampton, I believe his mandatory was Guillermo Rigondeaux when he was fighting at 122. He was supposed to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. I forgot what belts he had, but I remember his mandatory was Rigondeaux, and he was supposed to defend Rigondeaux. And you know what Carl Frampton did? He vacated his belt and he moved up to 126. During the time where he was supposed to defend his belt against Guillermo Rigondeaux. That's a blatant duck. Carl Frampton was afraid to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux because at the time Guillermo Rigondeaux was perceived as the boogeyman in the lower weight classes. That forever you could say that Carl Frampton ducked Guillermo Rigondeaux. David Haye, when he fought Tyson Fury, he was supposed to fight Tyson Fury twice. Both times he pulled out of the fight and claimed it was an injury. That's a duck, in my opinion, because I think some of these injuries were basically faked, and he just did that to avoid facing Tyson Fury. I believe that's a proper duck. You cannot say that Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder are ducking each other because it hasn't passed yet. It's not like 10 years passed and now they're retired and they never fought. The only way you could say that these guys are ducking each other is if they never fight. If 10 years pass and Deontay Wilder's retired and Anthony Joshua is retired and they never fought, they never unified to become undisputed, and they went their own separate paths. Anthony Joshua went on to lose to another dude, and Deontay Wilder went on to lose to another dude, and they never fight each other. Then you could say, this guy's ducking him. But you can't say that they're ducking each other yet because they haven't. Their careers aren't over. They haven't fought. What if a year from now they end up fighting? Then all those people that were saying Joshua was ducking this dude or Deontay Wilder was ducking this dude, they're going to look dumb. It's kind of like back in 2015 when Mayweather and Pacquiao finally fought. For years, people were saying Manny Pacquiao's a bitch. He's afraid of Floyd Mayweather Jr. He's ducking him. For years, people were saying Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a bitch. He's afraid. He's ducking Manny Pacquiao. Now they all look dumb because they actually got in the ring and fought each other. The same thing is going to happen to the people claiming that this dude's ducking him, this dude's ducking him. They're going to look dumb when these guys actually fought because it's like, wait a minute, homie. I thought you said this guy was ducking him. So why are they fighting? The thing is, don't believe these dudes until we see how Joshua's and Deontay Wilder's career pass, basically what happens throughout their career. Like I said, if they never fight, that's the only way you could say they ducked each other. But these guys will fight. I'm almost 100% certain these guys will fight. They're just building up the fight. They're trying to prolong it to make people, especially casual boxing fans, UK casual boxing fans, really want to buy this fight so they could have more money and they could put more money in their pockets. But they will eventually fight. Again, only claim that they're ducking if they never fight. But you cannot claim a guy's ducking if they never actually stepped in the ring together. Sean Porter. Sean Porter's blatantly ducking, in my opinion, Errol Spence Jr. Although their careers aren't over, he's gone around blatantly saying he doesn't want to fight Errol Spence Jr. Deontay Wilder's not doing that. Deontay Wilder is trying to fight Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is not doing that. Anthony Joshua is going around blatantly calling out Deontay Wilder, saying that he wants that fight so bad. So that's not a duck. Anyway, guys, stuff to say, and thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'm out.